Over the last 9 months now, we've all been very attentive to cleaning things, especially cleaning the external things, whether it's cleaning our pews, whether it's cleaning the trains, whether it's cleaning our hands. We've been cleaning everything. And this wasn't uncommon in Jewish history either. There had been pandemics before, and some of this crept in and became linked with people's understanding of religion. And we're seeing this in the gospel today. And Jesus reminds the Pharisees here that it's not about all of the external things. Ultimately, the cleaning that we've been all doing shouldn't just be so that we can grasp to life for another moment, but it should remind us that we're called to be clean of heart. That deep down, it's not just about making sure that we get rid of a pandemic of COVID, but that we need to get rid of anything that's not of beauty, that is not of God, anything that is sinful. So Paul, writing to the Galatians as we continue reading today, I'd be amazed to see how the people of Galatia received this reading today. When Christ freed us, he meant us to remain free. In that context, that time in history, St. Paul was writing to a community that had slaves. And for people to know that they were free, at least in their faith, that must have been an incredible thing. I think it must have created some tension because a lot of the people who were slaves didn't suddenly get freedom. They were still slaves. But that mentality that they're under the control of somebody else, that they have to ask somebody else to do everything and they can be ordered around, that was the mentality that St. Paul said shouldn't be part of being a Christian. That as a Christian, we are free, that we are all equal in dignity, that we can't be ordered around, that we can't be bought and sold, but that we are heirs of God's kingdom. And then St. Paul goes on to talk about how sometimes it's very easy to fall back into that trap of where the world is at least at that time. People were used to having slavery. People were used to buying and selling slaves, and people who were slaves were used to living that life, unfortunately. They wanted to get out of it, but sometimes they didn't see a way out of it. And so Paul says we're called to be free. Let's give a thought today about what this means to be free in our world today. Not under the control of another person, but we're actually called to be free. Over the last 9 months, we've given up a lot of freedoms for the purposes of making sure we can preserve life. But I think eventually we need to get to the stage whereby we are not slaves, we aren't controlled, but we are actually truly free. That's what St. Paul, I think, was trying to get at. Even though you can have rules in the world, what's in our heart? And in our heart, it is to be people who experience the loving kindness of God, as that responsorial psalm today said to us. Let's not just be worried about all the externals at the moment. Externals are important, absolutely. All the rules that are in place, these are important. But ultimately, it must go to the heart. This is what Jesus said to the Pharisees. This is what St. Paul is saying in this first reading. Let's not slavishly follow the rules and forget that we're called in our hearts to be free, to be clean, and to experience the loving kindness of God.